Welcome to episode 8. We left off at episode 7, and during that episode, we learned how to initially set up our tiles. Well, now it's time to organize them to fit into specific category and or hands. So make sure you have your 2039 Timeless American Mahjong card in front of you so that you can follow along. In most cases, we will be working at the category level, such as the timeless year 2039, 2468, any like numbers, etc. However, when a category has just a few hands, such as any like numbers, you can often see the exact hands that might work out. So let's get started. I am here at ilovemahj.com, where you will be spending a lot of time once you've finished this video series. And don't worry, the very last episodes teach you how to use the platform, as you will see me do in episodes 13, 14, and 15. As well, I Love Mahj has an excellent exercise room, which will help you learn the card, a vital part of becoming a better player. Here we are at ilovemahj.com, and I'm about to click on Start Game, which is going to deal me in a set of tiles. So here I go.
First Charleston.
And now we have all of our tiles, and it looks like it wants us to start the Charleston, but we're not going to do that until we're at episode 13. This episode is strictly about how to rearrange our tiles so that we get ready to know what we're going to pass during the Charleston. All right, so I taught you in the last episode at the end how to sort your tiles, and I sort them by suit, not by rank. I just think it makes them easier to see and start out with when you sort by suit. So that's what I would suggest you do. So I have sorted by suit, and it did put the flower at the left, which is what I normally do, because if you look at the card, the hands on the timeless card, the flowers are all at the beginning of the line. Matter of fact, most hands have the flower at the beginning. There have been years where the flowers have been both at the beginning and in the middle, but for the most part, they are at the beginning. Jokers are usually sitting here at the left as well, and then it's sorted where the east and west are in the front of the tiles. I like to put my east and west, or all my wind tiles, I should say, to the right, as well as my dragons. I don't do it for any other reason. It's just my preference, other than the fact that the winds and dragons have their own category on the right-hand side of the card. And so I like to group them together, not in front of the suit tiles, but on the right side. If you want to put them on the left side, be my guest. There's nothing to say that you can't do that. I'm just used to doing it this way, and so I continue to do so. All right, so the first thing we want to do is take a look to see if we have any multiples in this hand. And we don't. But we do have two jokers. You could consider it a multiple, but when I say multiples, I mean multiples of anything other than jokers. So we don't have any multiples of any tiles, and I like to work off of multiples. So hopefully in the next hand that we arrange, we'll have that. But in the meantime, we've got to work with what we've got. So starting out at the upper left-hand side of the card, and you'll be able to do this rather quickly once you get more familiar with the card. But in the beginning, and you'll be practicing a lot on I Love Mahj, so you'll be able to take as much time as you need. In the beginning, you're going to look at each category, and you're going to, just like I'm going to do out loud, I'm going to look at the 20 3-9 category to see if I have any 2s, 0s, 3s, or 9s. And also in that category, I see that there are Ds, and that stands for dragons. I don't have 2s, but I do have 9s, and I do have a 0, or it could be a dragon, and I do have a red, which is also a dragon. So that's what I have toward, and of course I have a flower, and flowers we keep until we are 100% sure we're not going to be playing a hand with a flower. You don't just dump them initially or decide you're not using them, because you just look around the card and you'll see how many hands have flowers. All right, so now I have those, and that's, again, I don't have any 2s and I don't have any 3s, but I do have the 9s and the 0 and a dragon. Maybe that's not the strongest category right now, but we'll continue on down to see what else we have and what our better options might be. The next category is 2, 4, 6, 8. And we only have 2 tiles in that category. So to me, that really is not a strong category with just 2 tiles. Well, what about any like numbers? Well, I have like 9s that we were keeping anyway for 2039, so we can keep them for the possibility of using any like numbers with the 9s. We also have 5s, and those are like numbers. Maybe we'll want to keep the 5s, right? So we're just kind of going through and thinking about things right now that we want to keep. Then we have our quince category, and because we don't have multiples of anything else, even though we have 2 jokers, I am not going to consider the quince category, because you need a lot of jokers and you need a lot of the natural tiles in the groupings. Normally, for me, if I start out with 3 jokers and some multiples of other tiles, my eyes are going to go right there to start looking at quince as one of my options, not my only option. We always want to stay flexible, and you'll see how that plays out as we go through the full game in the episode 13, 14, and 15. All right, let's move down now to the consecutive run section of the card. This is by far the most flexible section on the card. So if you can keep track of some of the runs around any number that you have, especially if it's a multiple, please do that. It's very, very helpful. But we want to make sure that it makes sense. So we don't just want to do that unless it makes sense. So before we choose the consecutive run numbers to work with, I want to go down and we'll come back to consecutive run, but I want to go down to 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, because I have 2 9s, 2 5s, and a 7. And all of those fit into 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Matter of fact, early on when you were learning the card, we talked about the fact that that category is split into low-end odds and high-end odds. Low end, 1, 3, 5. High end, 5, 7, 9. With some hands using all of the numbers. Well, I have all of the high-end odds right here. So that is very, very strong. So let me break this down again to tell you what I've so far decided to keep. I've kept the 9s, the soap or 0, and the red for potentially doing 2039. Even though we're missing a couple of things, we have a whole game to play through, lots of tiles to pass, and we want to see possibilities. We don't ever want to think, but I don't have, but I don't have. You have to be a visionary when you play this game. You have to envision what could be rather than what you are missing. Missing things come in hopefully during the game when you're picking tiles from the wall. All right, so that's one thing. We also looked at the 9s as being a possibility in the any like numbers category. And I do know there's dragons in that category, so we're already keeping those dragons. Then we talked about maybe consecutive run, but I said let's just skip that for a moment because I did see that we had quite a bit of 5, 7, 9 in that 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 category. So we've got like numbers, we've got 5, 7, 7, 9, maybe the 2039 year hand, timeless year hand section, and maybe like numbers with 5s. We don't know what's going to come in, but that's what I would be keeping to start with for this hand to begin. I would keep everything up through the 7, and then I would start breaking up these as far as passing them in the Charleston. Again, we're not going to be doing the Charleston in this episode. This is all about forming the tiles initially to get set to do the Charleston. I am going to come out of this room so that I could start again with a brand new hand. I'm going to launch the game, and I am going to start so that I could get another set of tiles dealt in.
First Charleston.
All right, we're going to sort by suit. Very nice. I have a couple of jokers again. It's always nice to start with jokers. I'm going to move my wins down here to the right. And now I'm going to look to see, do I have any multiples? Well, by golly, I have a multiple of 4 cracks. Okay, well, that's a great start right there. Now, looking at the 4s, which are evens, I know they're not going to be in the 2039 because there are no 4s in that year, timeless year hand section, but there are in 2468. So what I will do is move any 2468 tiles together. Right now, we're not looking at a specific hand. We're not targeting anything. We're just collecting tiles initially in as many categories as we possibly can. And then with what's left, we will pass in the Charleston. All right, what else can we do? Do I have any other like numbers other than the 1 pair of 4? I have no other 4s in the other 2 suits. Would I consider quints? Maybe. I can take a quick look there to see if there's anything I think would work out in there. I don't see anything strong in any of the quints, or I would point it out. And then we'll go down to consecutive run. And in this consecutive run section, we would want to keep anything within 2 tiles, maybe more, surrounding the multiple. So 4 is our multiple. So 3, 4, 5, even 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4. The 6 is going to be kept because we're looking at maybe the evens, 2, 4, 6, 8. And that's all the stuff I would keep. I am not worried too much about whether or not I have a specific hand I'm going for. No, that doesn't happen this early on. But I'm collecting, and I kind of like that. So I can choose from these here to pass. I could potentially keep the 1 because the 1 is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there, and pass these 3 here. Absolutely, I can do that. I'm going to go out of here, and I'm going to go back in to do another set of tiles.
First Charleston.
And here we are again. I'm going to sort by suit. Oh, I'm getting a lot of jokers. I wish I would normally when I'm playing, but it doesn't seem to work out that way, but I'm happy I have them. Wow, and do I have any multiples? Well, I do. I have 9s. And as I mentioned, I will look at the quint section if I have anything good that's going on. And I just realized we haven't even moved over to Winds and Dragons or 369 because what we've been keeping has worked out so far in the beginning categories very nicely. So let's take a look at the nines and see what we could possibly keep with the nines. Well, I would definitely, there's no other like numbers, so nines aren't going to work out. What about the 2039 timeless year section? I have twos. I could keep those for a while. Why not? I may end up getting dragons that are needed in there and my soap, which is also the 0. That might be nice. But I'd also want to keep the 8 and 9, which are consecutive numbers that work out in the consecutive run section. I think that would be a nice option to keep those. And what else could I possibly keep that would work out strongly? Let me move that down there. Well, let's see. 7 and 9s are in the high end of the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Maybe I would keep that, and I certainly can keep it. I could also keep the 7 dot for a potential consecutive run with the 7, 8, and 9. Maybe I'll keep the 4 because these are all even in the 2, 4, 6, 8. Now you might say, but 2, 4, 6, 8s don't go with the 9s. Well, if I start getting in a lot of 2, 4, 6, 8s and that's the direction the tiles are taking me, I might have to break up those 9s. So even though we want to try to work off of our multiples because they are a strength, it doesn't always work out 100% to our benefit to using them. More of this will come over time. Believe me, I know this is not so easy to do. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and do a break and go out and come back in.
First Charleston.
Here we are again. Now, take a look. I don't have any jokers this particular time. Wow, I have none. Okay, well, let's take a look and see what we can do with these tiles. I'm going to move these down here for a minute. All right. Okay, 2039. Well, I do have some 0s. They can be dragons or 0s. I have dragons. I have 9s. Well, I certainly can keep all that unless there's other things that are stronger, and then I need to break those up. But for right now, let's look at that. Then I can see that under 2, 4, 6, 8, I've got lots of 2, 4, 6, 8. Wow. So honestly, I think I'm going to keep all of that right there. And we have 3 like numbers as well. The 8 bam, the 8 crack, and the 8 dot. So I can keep track of any like numbers with 8s as well. Beautiful. I don't really need to look any further because this is all so fabulous that these could be my 3 tiles, the 5 bam, the north, and the west that I would end up giving for my very first Charleston pass. Not bad, not bad. Well, I hope you're starting to see how this works. It is going to take time, but you'll be able to practice lots. So don't worry, you will get it, I promise you. And it is so much fun, and I'm here to support you along the way. So just remember that. That concludes episode 8. Next up, episode 9, where we will be going over the first Charleston.